Hey YouTube, Tire Metalhead Weatherman here. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Getting towards the end of January here, so this video is just about on schedule. Might be released a little bit later. There's a lot going on in the country right now as far as weather's concerned, so whenever a good time emerges to release the video, it'll be up. But we are going to be taking a look at our February outlook here. We may touch up on it again once more before this month ends, but from what we're seeing right now, this is what we're going to be dealing with. For the temperature outlook, starting out, it's going to be mostly towards the northwest, kind of leaning towards that negative PNA type setup where we have the west, especially the northwest, cooler than average. Not super high confidence on it though. It's more so 50 to 60% chance. And this does stretch a little bit into the northern plains as well, into the Dakotas mainly, but Montana, Idaho, northern Wyoming, Oregon, and Washington, it's a good chance you're going to have below average temperatures. And then there's a minimal spot here where we're sitting at 33 to 40% that stretches all the way towards Minneapolis and stretches towards the northern tiers of California and Nevada, etc. So then we have our area above average. This is mainly looking like it's going to be due to a southeast ridge that we have in effect here. That's been persistent for a bit. It looks like it's going to be continuing. Towards the Atlantic coast, seems like it's going to be the warmest. There's the highest confidence of above average temperatures over there. And then this stretches all the way into the northeast, the mid-Atlantic, and the southeast as well. Also the Gulf Coast states, pretty high confidence there. We're sitting at about 40 to 50%. And this stretch of above average temperatures even spans into the Ohio Valley a bit. Southern plains, of course, and then parts of southern New Mexico. Anywhere else here in the white, we're looking at equal chance of either above or below average temperatures. As far as precip is concerned, we have a setup where northwest looks like it's going to be above average in regards to rainfall, and then right around the Great Lakes in the Ohio Valley seems to be another secondary bullseye. Not a super high confidence area. It's only slightly above average. I would say 40 to 50% at maximum. And then a lot of these areas are at 33 to 40%. Still an above average chance of above average precip, but for the most part, I think we're not going to be too far away from average as of right now. Of course, we'll have to see how these storm systems act and perform over said regions. Now, as we move further to the south, here's where we're starting to see below average precip. Florida looks especially prone to seeing below average precipitation, especially considering that a lot of the storm tracks have been kind of staying a little further to the north here. Gulf of Mexico hasn't been super active, so we're struggling to get showers and storms to form over these areas, which is not uncommon for this time of year, but there is a pretty considerable amount of confidence, about 40 to 50%. Same can be said toward the southern plains and towards the desert southwest. It's not surprising to see below average precip forecast here, or outlook, so to speak. But the chance of below average precip does extend further into the southwest here, even including a tiny little southeastern corner of California, far southern Georgia, towards the Gulf states, and then even up some of the South Atlantic coast here. We could have below average chances for precip. So here's how we're going to be closing out this month and starting next month. It's going to be a big cool down on the way, and confidence is pretty high, especially around the northern tier of the country, of a major cool down. There's almost a 90 to 100% chance around the Dakotas and around Minnesota. And this high confidence area stretches all the way down toward the central plains here even. The western half of the country is looking like it's going to be extremely cold, extremely below average, and we'll get into the temperature anomalies in a minute. But this stretches pretty much all the way down towards even the panhandle of Texas, where they're even seeing snow. They've even been seeing snow over here. So that just goes to show just what kind of setup we have going on here. But even then, some areas into the Ohio Valley, you could see below average temperatures over here. Again, that southeast ridge is in effect, and that's why we're seeing this warmer than average region right here. It's held itself in pretty well. It's pretty well rooted at this point. Not uncommon for this time of year. We will, of course, be watching parts of the mid-Atlantic here for some above average temperatures, but not too much of a deviance in that. This cold air could eventually move a little bit further to the east. We'll have to see how the ridge reacts, whether it weakens or strengthens is going to play a big part in that. So that's days 6 through 10. When we go to 8 through 14, cold air starts to stay in place more so. It doesn't really progress a whole lot. It does work its way towards the northwest, but that southeast ridge will be holding strong and keeping temps slightly above average, so maybe about 10 to 15 degrees above average. This is just me taking a guess more so, I would say. But it's not too much of a difference between the 6 to 10 day and the 8 to 14 day maps. Let's take a look at the precipitation. We take a look at the precipitation. High confidence of there being above average precip around the eastern half of the country, especially towards the southeast and the southern plains as well. Then also towards the western half of the country, there's high confidence of above average precip. The only place that really has below average precip opportunities seem to be more so towards North Dakota, parts of Minnesota, and tiny pieces of South Dakota and Wisconsin here. Maybe even the UP of Michigan, but it doesn't look like there's too much going on there. It looks like you're going to have an equal chance over there for the most part as any of the other areas that are here in the white. Move this forward to day 8 through 14. It's a similar look, but now that dry area could be possibly more so towards western Texas and parts of the desert southwest here. So here's what our temperature anomaly is looking like. Now I want one thing to be made clear here, that these temperatures are measured in Celsius. So just because I'm showing you what's going on here and it's saying 3.5 degrees, keep in mind that this is in Celsius. It's measured differently than Fahrenheit, so you're gonna have to calculate that one out. Or maybe I could, if I was better at editing, which I'm working on right now as we speak even, I would put something on the screen, or maybe I'll leave something in the comments to kind of give you that formula so you can plug in your numbers. But over towards the southeast where that ridge is in effect, that's where there's high confidence that there's going to be above average temperatures through February. We could see about 3.5 to maybe even potentially 4 degrees Celsius difference in temperature here, which is actually a pretty big number. I would say that's about maybe 10, 15 degrees above average possibly. The only super cold area seems to be right around Montana right now, where we could be seeing about maybe 2 degrees Celsius below average as of right now. Keep in mind, these are also averages. This does not mean that every day is going to be above or below average by a significant number. This is done over a forecast of 30 days time, which we still don't completely know. So this can all be thrown out the window by any big storm system or Arctic blast or ridge that pops up here. So don't look at this outlook as like the final say this is exactly what's going to happen in February, because it'd be foolish to think that. A lot of areas towards the western half of the country, and this also has a look of a classic PNA setup, negative PNA setup, I should say, where it's warm to the west and where it's warm to the east and cold to the west, I should say. It's not a major abundance of cold air right here in general. I mean, it's cooler than average, but it's not by much. Maybe a degree or two Celsius, but it's much warmer out here to the east. We're starting to transition into spring, so we'll have to, of course, keep an eye on regions over here throughout the month of February, and of course, these regions here. They've been active over the last couple of weeks, and I don't anticipate that changing. When we look at the potential moisture anomaly, it's a little different. This is actually something that we're a little bit more familiar with in regards to metrics here. This is measured in inches. There's, of course, an abundance over towards the Sierra Nevada, as we've had a very active weather pattern that has not changed yet. Of course, we'll be looking more also towards the mountains in the far northwest for increased precipitation. I'm anticipating a fair amount of that might end up being snow towards both of these regions. Then over towards the Ohio Valley, we could get a mixture of either or at any point during the month of February. Real question mark is going to be over towards this region. With it being warmer than average over here, I'm leaning more towards rain. But, of course, a storm system with the proper cold air can change all of that, so we'll have to keep an eye on it. But for the most part, we're looking like maybe between, I'd say, an inch or two above average in precip for the month. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. There's a couple spots where we could get above 2 to 3 inches here as well. But for the most part, we're not going to be too far off of average, it seems like right now. Now, these areas in the yellow, these are areas that are expecting below average precip. The bullseye here really is Florida in this month. We could see potentially maybe 2-3 inches below average here. It could be 2 inches off of our mark. Of course, again, any storm system that takes a slightly different track than expected here, of course, could blow this wide open. But this is the confidence. But this is basically just showing the confidence that we have right now based on some of the models that are reaching out this far. And then, of course, we also have to watch towards southern Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona as well. Not high confidence on, or not necessarily not high confidence, but more so the anomaly in rainfall deficit doesn't seem to be too high, thankfully. So it's not like we won't be getting rain here. It's just it won't be in the same abundance as, say, what we had going on in November or something when we had a whole monsoon going on around this region. This is your dry season over here, so it's not unheard of for you guys. But anyway, that's the end of this video here. If you enjoyed this one, of course, drop a like. I always appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed already, definitely do that. In fact, like and subscribe if you can. Also, feel free to leave a comment telling your thoughts on the forecast. And if you haven't shared, and if you can, also share this video to anyone that might be interested. But this has been Ty, Metalhead Weatherman. You guys have a good one. I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.